Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the IGN Pro League. My name is Total Biscuit. I'm going to be bringing you a Terran versus Terran matchup between Spades. Oh yes, the one and only Spades of Team VT versus his opponent StarLife from Team Complexity Gaming. It's going to be, as I said before, a Terran versus Terran matchup, which means that anything can happen. One of the most interesting mirror matchups in my honest opinion, and both of these guys currently in the lower bracket, which means that a loss here will knock them out of the IGN Pro League Season 1 entirely. So these guys will be fighting for their life in the best of three. Are you ready? I certainly am, so let's get it on. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Xel'Naga Caverns, which will be the arena for today's bloodbath. My name is Total Biscuit, and I'm bringing you StarLife of Team Complexity Gaming. He's in the green trunks, and he will be playing Terran right here versus his opponent up to the northeast of this map. We have Spades of Team VT. He is in the sort of dirty-ish, bluish trunks. What color is that? Who knows? Who cares? It will be the color of blood once StarLife is finished with him. If he has his way, then I can tell you for a fact he's playing Terran as well. Now, Spades is a really great player. Honestly, he really, really is. He's gone full-time pro and coach recently, and he's been doing exceptionally well. A former Brood War player. Used to play very well there as well. I believe he had an A rank in the IC Cup League, so that's a big deal, honestly. It really, really is. And he's known for his strong early to mid-game style. We'll see as to whether or not he'll be able to execute that against StarLife. StarLife is I wouldn't say a bit of an oddball, but he's very difficult to predict, especially in TVT. I've seen all sorts of crazy things from StarLife, including things like mass ravens in Terran versus Terran in previous tournaments, and he's done very well using those kind of things. So Spades is going to be kept guessing right here. We'll see whether or not Spades is able to end this early by applying some early game aggression, but bear in mind, that's very difficult to do in Terran versus Terran. All it really requires in order to repulse that kind of thing is to get a bunker down to make sure your defense is good. And then, of course, once you get siege tanks out, good luck trying to get up the ramp. And that's where things start to get a little bit interesting. That's why Terran versus Terran, in my opinion, is the best mirror matchup, because it just has so much variety. Now, Spades hasn't built a refinery yet, which can indicate a number of things, including the possibility of going for a early push with 2 barracks, or, considering the amount of money he's currently got, he could be going for a fast expansion as well. It's not uncommon to see a barracks go down, then a command center, and then double refineries after that to follow it up. It's looking increasingly likely that we're going to be seeing one of those two things right now. Going straight into his orbital command center, as you tend to at this time of the game. Doesn't want to let that go off. Another supply depot coming down for him. So if he does decide to go for another expansion, he'll probably do that once he's got maybe about 18 to 19 SCVs. That's fairly common. That's about the kind of time you'll see that. We're still not seeing a second barracks, so I don't expect too much early aggression from him yet. But just keep an eye on it, folks. There you go. Mineral count still going higher, higher, and higher for him. In comes the mule. SCV moving out. Pretty much certain right now that he will decide to expand. And in the meantime, StarLife going straight into a factory. Now, early game aggression from StarLife could prove to be very useful, considering he's going up against Spades right here, who has decided to expand. StarLife is not really bothered to scout much as of yet. He's seen that Xel'Naga watchtower and the area around it. He's not too worried about what's coming in anyway. He should be able to see whatever comes his way, scouting-wise. Now, Spades actually has no idea what his opponent's really doing either, honestly. All he scouted was a barracks and a single refinery, which can lead into pretty much anything. StarLife will hold off any further scouting attempts unless a scan comes down. Factory coming down for StarLife, almost complete. Reactor coming down for StarLife as well. Now, I have to wonder if that was designed for a swap over, because if it was, it's quite late there. Starport coming down, so I don't think that's what it's for at all. Could be just seeing Marines, could be seeing drops. There's the tech line coming down. We see a swap around there. Also a possibility, although once again, a little bit early on the build for that one. So plenty of possibilities really for StarLife. He's in a good position right now to go in a wide variety of different directions. Whereas Spades really is restricted to building Marines for the time being, getting out his second barracks just because that's all he can afford. It's a very, very large investment early on in the game to get a command center out so early on. Of course, it does give you an economic advantage at some point. StarLife looking to do a swap around. We could be seeing Raven, of course. We could be seeing Banshee as well. Double Marines being pushed out of that barracks. We'll find out in a moment what we're going to be looking at. Well, gas count would indicate that I would think Banshee, and there you go. Banshee on its way for StarLife. And that should be proved to be very useful, honestly, against Spades. Do a little bit of harassment at the back right there, and obviously catch his opponent out of position. No engineering bay coming up, and we also see a siege tank to back that one up as well. Now, StarLife actually is known sometimes, every now and again, It's difficult to say whether or not a player is really known for a specific strategy. This is one thing he has employed in his bag of tricks, which is he will actually use Banshees as part of an attack force, as opposed to just using them for harassment purposes, and that can be very useful indeed, especially if you have a fight between Stim Marines at the front. The Banshees can flank around and do big damage to the siege tanks and things like that. Bunker coming down for Spades right now. The defense looking pretty good. The economy of Spades is starting to draw ahead, as you would expect, considering he has 2 bases as opposed to his opponent's 1. But can StarLife do any real damage at this stage of the game? That's the main thing. If he can, and if he can take advantage of this window whereby his opponent's not really all that well defended, then he will be in a good position. However, I'm concerned about the fact that StarLife has not got any kind of siege tech right now. He's only just really started researching it, so if he decides to go in now, that's going to be a little bit late. That could be a problem for StarLife. He needs to get the hell out of there immediately. VTSpades looking for the interception, and in the meantime, StarLife drawing him out of position into an engagement that he will surely lose. Banshee, great micromanagement there from the Banshee, picks off a good 4 Marines in the process, right back into that bunker, and that should be easily cracked right now by StarLife, you'd think. However, the tank for Spades as well, looking to try and flank around the side and do some damage. The deployment for the siege tanks is ready. He can do it very, very soon at any rate. And actually, in fact, it looks like, did he cancel it? He obviously did. He cancelled out that research right there. So he's staying with this mobile tank, but he might even be able to bring this down. A lot of damage coming down on the orbital command set. A lot of repairs for Spades as well. Draining resources as he has to, really. He doesn't have a choice. And now gunning down that line. Unfortunately, Spades now has siege tank deployment. That's not so great at all. Banshee needs to pick it off, but almost losing it right there. Pushing him all the way back, and there's the Banshee down. StarLife backed off into a corner. And a single tank with no siege tank deployment is not going to help at all right there. StarLife looking to push forward once again. He's going to try and expand behind whatever he decides to push, and maybe try and deploy and hold the line right now with these siege tanks. Couple more barracks coming up, more Banshees on the way. That Banshee did a massive amount of damage. This siege tank did pretty well as well. I've got units lost. It's actually completely and totally equal in every respect. However, the harvester count tells a different story, because Spades, who should have had a superior harvester count, now has an inferior harvester account, which is not so good at all. Not what you want, honestly. Not what you want. StarLife should be able to hold this line without too much of a problem right now. Siege Tech is now coming on the way once again. The deployment of the siege tanks around that will mean that Spades can't push in for the foreseeable future. Medevac's coming up for Spades right now. If we have a look at the unit counting station, we can clearly see that it's fairly equal. More Marines right now for Spades, but those Marines aren't actually going to make any difference. If they charge into a line of siege tanks, they'll just be ripped apart immediately before they can do anything, so that doesn't really matter. Another Banshee up for StarLife. The question is, what can he really do with it? Looking for access, looking to see what he can do to the base of his opponent. In the meantime, plenty of tech coming out for Spades right now. Medevac's on the way as well, looking to do some pushing with that. And now a few free SCV kills once again. Spades doesn't have Stimpak available either, so that's going to make things a little bit more difficult for him to try and push that Banshee away. 3 kills already taken by that one. I would be a little bit concerned right now for Spades. He keeps getting his SCVs picked off very easily. Good harassment right now by StarLife. That will give StarLife the time he needs to build his forces up to the point where he can break through. Stimpak has only just started. Think about that. The 11-minute mark. It starts right now for Spades, and there is a window where the Stimpak will be complete for StarLife. The question is, can he get in there? With a lot of tanks deployed, he's going to have to do something about that. It doesn't involve running his Marines into a wall of firepower from those tanks. That tends to get a little bit messy, folks. A little bit of a cleanup required if that kind of thing happens. Spades keeping an eye on things. Good supply depot placement there by StarLife. You might wonder why that is. Well, he simply places it there to make sure that he has some scouting information. If anyone decides to slide around the back, he's going to see them coming a mile away. Not bothering to harass with that Banshee right now. He'll probably push with StarLife's forces when he decides to go in. And right now, however, Spades does have some drop potential, as does StarLife, admittedly not a huge amount. Spades not getting aggressive either, and this is quite common for Terran versus Terran. You'll tend to find that they will sort of sit around and build up their forces to the point where they think they can push forward. They're not going to get all that aggressive so early on. Well, an expansion coming out right here for StarLife. You can see trying to clear his way out. And the first guy to get the gold mineral expansion in a Terran versus Terran gains a very significant advantage. Gold mineral expansions are perhaps more important for Terran than any other race, simply because of the ability to drop mules on them. They mine so very, very fast. In the meantime, StarLife will push forward. He has started building that command center, so he's going to expand behind this push. In the meantime, however, Spades is looking pretty strong. That is a nasty mix. It really, really is. But it's not going to stop this, because in comes the medevac drop. A single... You could have actually dropped even more than that if you wanted. You could have picked up a second wave of Marines, and those barracks will be torn apart. Reactor will be taken out as well. There comes the stim. In the meantime, what Spades going to do, sort of milling around right now, looking for an opportunity to move in. However, those siege tanks are deployed. He knows it's going to be very risky to go, and look at that. Bad timing there by Spades. Loses one tank, looks for a second one. Can he take it? Yes, he can. Starlife rips it apart and even gets away with the majority of his Marines. Great drop pickup as well by Starlife, ripping out the heart of the production right now for Spades, and he stims right into the line. Should be able to break the tank line. It's very, very good. The Marauders tanking the majority of the damage, and down goes Starlife's forces. However, he's able to hang on by a thread, keeps up 3 siege tanks, and he's going to drop them right on top. Or is he? That would have been a little bit risky, honestly. What was he going to do with this medevac? I'd say maybe yes, he is. Dropping it straight on. It's a bomb, folks. That is the Starlife drop right there. That is a trademark strategy of Starlife, and it's actually usually used against the Zerg. He usually drops those on Banelings to detonate them prematurely. You could do it with siege tanks as well, and the siege tanks actually blew up Spades' own siege tank. And that's what you do. You just drop Marines on them, and of course they auto-fire. It is a great strategy. Excellent play there by Starlife, and awesome to see that trademark play come back into effect. And now Starlife is sitting on such a huge force advantage. Gonna throw it down the throat of his opponent, and I don't even know if those siege tanks will be able to hold against that kind of damage, especially if he's able to do another Starlife drop, which will cause unmitigated and disastrous effects to his opponent. Starlife deploys. He has this area locked down, and it's very critical, actually, on Xel'Naga watchtowers to hold this. I mean, I keep getting confused between Xel'Naga watchtowers and Xel'Naga caverns. Yes, the Xel'Naga towers on the Xel'Naga caverns are critical, as you'd imagine by the name. Very, very important. If you hold the Xel'Naga tower on your opponent's side, you gain a huge amount of control over pretty much the entire map. Anyone that tries to sneak through there is just not going to be able to get anywhere. In the meantime, what is Spades going to do in response to that aggression? And it was an incredibly strong push by Starlife. An excellent attack. It did a lot of damage to the production facilities of his opponent, and Starlife could even expand into his opponent's gold mineral expansion. That would be a coup for the ages. Planetary Fortress deployed, so no harassment's going to be coming in there. And actually, Spades hasn't even tried. He's just been bottled up in his base the entire time, trying to build up a force. And Starlife still has a massive unit advantage, and his economy's looking great as well. Streaming ahead with the control of the gold mineral expansion. More important, perhaps, trying to deny his opponent's access to his gold mineral expansion. And he's doing that in a fine, fine fashion. But in the meantime, a stimmed push right here from the back. And Spades did not have the foresight to build those supply depots there to keep an eye on things, or any missile turrets of anything of the sort. A free siege tank right there for Starlife, and a great drop. And in the meantime, I have to wonder if Starlife will actually use this opportunity maybe to start pushing forward. Spades looking for an expansion, and this is really the only area he can safely go into right now. Starlife with 2 more factories coming out and another command center. He might even try and take this area. It seems unlikely. I think he's more likely to expand down there. It's a little bit dicey to go for that, but it would be an incredibly cheeky maneuver and showing the dominance of Starlife in this particular matchup. Spades really can't hold any candle to his opponent. He'd love to. He'd love to dangle it under his feet. He'd love to burn the souls of Starlife right out from under him, but it's not happening. However, will Spades' Marauder Heavy Force be effective right here? It very well might be. And Starlife actually forced out of position. However, Spades backs up almost immediately. Here comes the siege tank deployment and raining it down on both of them. Look at that. Salvos of artillery raining down on top of VTSpades. And of course, Starlife as well. Huge amounts of damage being done to both sides. Looking to try and redeploy, take up more map control, rolling forward. And Starlife has a huge number of tanks. That's 15 siege tanks, folks. You very, very rarely see that many. A quick stim by Spades, an excellent maneuver. Takes down one, looks for the second and the third, and most of Starlife's force is actually getting gutted right here. That was a little bit of a misstep right there by Starlife, and he walks into a pile of shelling. Starlife needs to back the hell away and also reinforce this particular area. Make sure that nothing happens right there. Spades with a misstep once again, losing a couple of Marauders and a lot of damage being done right there. So I would be a little bit worried if I was Spades right now. What's coming into my front yard? Tanks. Guns. Lots and lots and lots of guns. And look at this. There's a great opportunity here to do immense damage. This is the problem with expanding to this area. It's very vulnerable to attacks from the cliff face. A deployment from Starlife can do extremely well right here. However, Starlife once again caught out of position. Very little damage done there by Starlife's forces. Now trying to do as much damage to the economy of his opponent as he can, driving his opponent away rapidly. However, how much damage will he really be able to do? Only with 2 siege tanks. And now getting flanked right now by VTSpades. And the entire line of StarLife's Marines will be torn apart very rapidly. Those 2 siege tanks aren't going to be able to inflict all that much damage as the Marauders come in right there, gutting one and gutting the second. And VTSpades is doing a great job of actually pushing out right here. In the meantime, reinforcements coming in from StarLife, looking to do damage to the siege tanks, but oh, wow, that was brutal. StarLife taking massive casualties, but he is able to hold it simply due to the number of medevacs he's got healing up those units right here. StarLife with a pick up and go. Off he goes, and nothing VTSpades can really do to stop him. This is excellent play here by StarLife, and a huge amount of economic harassment has been done. Bear that one in mind. A lot of damage done to this mineral line, forced to pull a lot of SCVs off of it, and a 91 harvested at 51 advantage right here. Spades is lagging behind in a very serious way. I would not want to run into that if I was Spades right now. Look at that. Huge, huge deployment of siege tanks right there. There comes the stim. Will it be able to rip its way through there? He's losing huge amounts of units as he goes, but he's able to take out the front line by the looks of it. Takes 5 and now 6 siege tanks out, and Spades keeps the majority of his forces intact. However, a stim marine push is cutting its way through, and here come the medevacs to save the 1 marine. Too late, I'm afraid. Triage is not going to help you now. StarLife pushing forward once again. However, he can afford to take these losses. Spades perhaps cannot right now. Map control firmly in favor of StarLife, and once again denying this gold mineral expansion to his opponent. A drop could be coming in right here. Deploying on the cliff face would make sense. If he runs in there with Marines, he'll take a lot of damage, but he doesn't need to do that. He has the tanks. Oh, no! Spades! No SCVs for you, I am afraid. Spades pushing forward with a large Marine force. However, StarLife does have a significantly more. In fact, there aren't even all that many Marines in there. That's primarily Marauders, which is going to get cracked open by that many stim Marines. As you can see, as he rips through the forces, GG! Ladies and gentlemen, StarLife with a dominant play right there with some excellent maneuvering and map control the entire way through. Able to deny his opponent this gold middle expansion. Kept the economic advantage. Great siege tank deployment as well. Relying primarily on the classic mix of siege tank Marine with a large number of medevacs, in fact, more than you might perhaps expect. And it really did add to the durability of his forces, and Spades was not prepared to deal with it. Primarily a Marauder force is fine, certainly, against siege tanks, but with that many Marines, the Marauders just can't throw out enough damage to non-armored targets to really make the difference there, and StarLife was able to roll over Spades time and time again, and taking the first in that best-of-3 series, folks. Don't go anywhere. The actions just got started right here in the IGN Pro League.